Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? Welcome back. We're going to be doing a tag video, the eyeshadow palette tag round 2 that was started by Samantha March and Ali Glines. I did this tag the first round and I think you guys really enjoyed that video, so when I saw that they were coming out with a part 2, I thought may as well do it. I love talking about eyeshadow palettes. We have some pretty fun, interesting categories of You guys, my life just flashed before my eyes. We have some pretty fun, interesting categories to talk about today, so I will have Samantha and Ali's videos linked down below. I don't know why it felt so weird to just use their first names, but I'll have them linked down below. I'll have all the questions. I don't normally tag people, but if you see this video and you want to do it, or if you just want to do it in the comment section, feel free to. Now let's go ahead and jump on in. So the very first category is an all-time favorite eyeshadow palette, and this one just felt right. I've talked about it before as being my all-time favorite neutral palette. It's probably one of the most expensive palettes that I have zero regrets on buying, and I've just used it so much. I continue to love it every single time I use it, so it just felt right to call this my all-time favorite. So if you haven't guessed it already, that is going to be the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I just love this one. I don't know, the color story is just perfection to me when I go for neutrals. I mean, I've definitely had a love affair with cool tones recently, as you can see with what's happening on my eyes today, but these like mustardy tones, the really interesting golds and the like little pop of blue and green here, it's just so beautiful. This is, to me, the best formula Natasha Denona has ever done. I just feel like the mattes in here are buttery. They blend so easily. There's so many special shades. Some of her other palettes I've found where like they're more just like typical metallics, but I feel like in this palette, you've got this shade which is more of like a topper, but it's so sparkly. You've got the prettiest bronze eyeshadow ever. You've got lime chrome, which I mean has a beautiful, beautiful flip. There's definitely dupes of it available now, but it's still just such an OG favorite. And then I feel like these two are also very special shades, whereas this one, and this one you'll find with a lot of different Natasha Denona palettes. I don't know, it's just the color story, the formula, the texture, everything about it is just so, so good. I feel like I've gotten some comments recently where you guys are like, can we please see swatches when you're talking about things? So I guess I'll just do that really quick. I'll swatch maybe my 3 favorite shades from each palette that I'm talking about. So, I mean, lime chrome, of course, cannot not talk about this beauty. It's just so pretty. We've got this bronze shadow, which is one of my favorites ever. And then we'll do this mustard tone because it's just so good. Don't mind all the cat scratches, but there's just a little taste of why I love the gold palette so, so much. So the next category is a new favorite eyeshadow palette, and I kind of went back and forth on this for a little bit because, I don't know, it's so easy to classify new eyeshadow palettes as a favorite just because it's like that like new, shiny, I think I've never had an eyeshadow palette like this before kind of feeling, and then time will tell how much you truly end up loving it. But I feel like the one that I want to talk about has been a favorite for me since I first tried it. It's been a few months. I just feel like between the price, the color story, I can't help but recommend it, and I think it's gonna be a long-term favorite, so I chose it as a new favorite above all the other palettes I could have chosen as a new favorite. So that is going to be the ColourPop Or Kid You Not. I just absolutely love this one. I mean, it is a beautiful purple plummy palette. The mattes in here are some of the best mattes ColourPop has ever done. Even the shimmers, and I am not a shimmer lover from ColourPop, like I just normally find them to be kind of mediocre, like they're just okay. I think the shimmers in here are still really beautiful. Like for example, these 2 shades on top of one another for as an inner corner color is so, so pretty. I did that recently. But yeah, I don't know, I just felt like this palette is so, 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 so good. I'll do this shade Pretty One, which is like a really pretty like lavender silver shade, and then Ada, which is a really beautiful, very like red, purple burgundy, and then this shade Nuh-Uh, which is just such a good eggplant shade. Like the pigmentation is just top notch. Okay, you can see obviously I got a little bit of fallout happening there, but look at those mattes, like zero complaints. So the next category is an eyeshadow palette that you keep for the memories, And honestly, I just felt like this palette was the right one for this category. It fits it so well. It is a palette that I never use, I never talk about, but I also just feel like I have to keep it. I can't seem to get rid of it. So that is going to be the Alma palette. This was a collaboration that I did. It was honestly a complete fail. I do have a video that I talked about this in a long time ago called like what I learned from having a failed collab, which I can link in the cards here for you if you're interested to hear more. I don't want to get into it too far. I feel like this palette just gives me a lot of anxiety, and I just feel like it's just a reminder of like all the people that I let down, but at the same time, like I just can't seem to let it go because like it was like the first collab that I've ever done, and I loved it with all my heart. Like I loved the actual color story. I mean, it's kind of a mess. I'll show you guys what it looks like. Obviously there's a broken mirror because why would there not be in here? But you know, it was like my purple palette dream, and yeah, I just can't seem to let it go. Part of me has thought about whether I should try and do a video like duping this out for you guys using single shadows, but I don't know, have I waited long enough? I didn't want to do it for a while. Now I'm a little bit more open to it, but definitely very bittersweet, and I don't know, I just can't seem to let it go. But again, it's not something I'm really going to swatch, not something I really talk about, but it's there, it's hidden in the back of my collection. The next category is an eyeshadow palette that is not a favorite, but you can't get rid of it, and that is definitely such an easy one for me. It's the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I feel like I have really good memories thinking about this, and like it has some good vibes to it, and also like it was a splurge, it was an expensive palette. Like looking at it, it is beautiful. I mean, it's Natasha Denona, for crying out loud, but I don't know, I just feel like this color story, there's just too many warm tones that like just kind of all look like one another, and I don't know, I feel like I keep like trying to use this and use this and use this, and it's just, I thought I loved the Natasha Denona Gold palette so much that when I got the Metropolis, I would feel the same way. It just did not replicate that love the way I thought it was going to. So I guess we can do this one because it's supposed to be similar to Lime Chrome. It's like a flippy duochrome shadow. I mean, it is pretty. We've got like this really pretty grungy green shade. I mean, that's stunning. Maybe this green as well. I mean, honestly, it still feels so creamy. Why am I not loving this palette? I mean, look at that. Those mattes look so good. What is wrong with me? That's a rhetorical question, by the way. You don't have to comment your answer. The next category is favorite collab eyeshadow palette. This one's easy. I feel like even talking about it is a little repetitive because I mentioned this as my #1 favorite palette of 2021. So that is going to be the Kaleidos Cub Nebula palette. This was a collaboration with Anyel and it is just my absolute favorite. I mean, it's so, so beautiful. Every look that I do with it, I love. This is like a treat to me to go ahead and swatch it with y'all right now. So we'll do the chartreuse because that is definitely one of my favorite shades. And oh my gosh, I just felt like there's such a dip going there. So pretty. We've got this green I really, really love. It's like a green to pink, like shifty shade. I mean, you can see it there, the tiniest bit. And then I really love this purple as well. So just to show you some quick swatches, you know what, I feel like I have to do one of the deepening shades as well. I know I said I was only gonna do 4, but let's do this red. Such a good red. I mean, look at that. I know this palette's not available anymore. I don't want to go on, but quality, color story, inspiration, just me wanting to continue to use it every single day has never gone away. So that's why for me, it is my favorite collab palette. So the next category is your 2021 favorite eyeshadow palette. This was hard because I felt like the Club Nebula palette was my favorite one and I didn't want to repeat, so I decided to go with the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. I have the light version, but I just felt like this, you know, it deserved a spot as my favorite palette of 2021, just based on the fact that it is the palette that I probably used the most the entire year. I mean, again, this is gonna be so repetitive. I feel like I've just been talking about the same things over and over, but that's okay. I feel like there's nothing wrong with continuing to love the same products. So this has just been a favorite for me. I feel like I should go ahead and swatch the metallics for y'all because they're just so good and I don't give them enough love. So we've got John here, which is like a really pretty like deep silver. So nice. We've got, oh wait, no, sorry, that was Albert. I always mess up the names because they're above the shadows instead of below, and it just throws me off. Now we have John, which is like the prettiest golden silver. I know it looks kind of gold in the palette, but then if you compare it to a regular gold, it looks super silver. Let's do Elizabeth. It's just like a really pretty pink. I mean, so pretty. The metallics are definitely the type where it's just like super wet looking on your eyes, especially these two. There's no sparkle or like extra texture or anything going on, so it might not be everyone's absolute favorite, but for me, like, that's just like a go-to. So next we have an eyeshadow palette that you didn't expect to love, and I tried really hard to only choose one eyeshadow palette in every single category instead of making this go on and on and on. But for this one, I felt like I had two really clear answers, and they were basically like in opposite directions as far as eyeshadow palettes go, but both at the same time being so basic. I think that's why I didn't expect to love either of these palettes, but they just went above and beyond. So first we have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Blends palette. I just didn't know that I would love it. I didn't know that it would become a favorite, and I think it's because it is such a basic rainbow palette. I heard good things about the formula. I really like the way that it's organized, but at the end of the day, I was like, it's a matte rainbow eyeshadow palette. Like, is it really gonna blow my socks off? Probably not, but it has. I absolutely love this palette. I feel like it has turned into my go-to rainbow palette, my go-to matte palette. Every time I'm playing with indie single shadows, I want to pair it with this palette. I mean, there are a few nice neutral options, but I just feel like the colors in here, not only do they blend so easy and so beautifully, but they're pigmented, they're rich, there's beautiful deepening shades to go with everything. You've got some pastel options, you've got a little bit of neon. I just think it is so nice. So, I mean, again, we'll do some swatches. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. My favorite shade is probably this purple Giggle. I've used this so much. I think it's just such a good formula of purple. We've got this green right here called Wildflower, which is a stunning chartreuse kind of neon shade. And then let's do this deep navy called Spellbound, just so you can see the pigmentation. I mean, obviously everything in here is matte. I just feel like it's a staple for me now. So there's what they look like. I mean, you can only tell so much from a swatch, especially with the matte shadow. Honestly, I would highly recommend these shadows if you are looking for that perfect matte rainbow palette. I mean, it's definitely my favorite. It beats anything else that I owned. And then the other palette that I felt perfectly fit is the ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette. I don't think I expected to love this one just because like, ColourPop can be kind of hit and miss. It's a really big palette. It's just a super basic neutral palette, but I love it. I love it so much. I feel like it has been a staple for me. I would say I definitely reach for the mattes in here more than the shimmers, but I feel like I've traveled with this. Like, I've just gone back to it again and again, and I feel like if you love cool tone neutrals and you want really good quality shadows, you don't want to pay a lot, this palette just is so much bang for your buck. So, I mean, favorites wise, I feel like this silver here is really beautiful. I reach for that one a lot. And then I really like this gray as well. I mean, this is so basic. Okay, I'm gonna go for this brown because I feel like I use this one quite often. Yeah, I don't think I've ever swatched this palette before. I've just been using it on my eyes, but as you can see, very basic shadows, but they look so good. I mean, that silver is just beautiful. So the next category is an eyeshadow palette that sparks joy, and I decided to go with the Pat McGrath Subliminal palette that I purchased for myself for Christmas. It was my gift to myself to try my first Pat McGrath palette ever. It's what I have on my eyes today, along with the Pat McGrath Bridgerton palette, which that was an accident. That was unplanned, but this was supposed to be my first and only Pat McGrath palette to cherish, and somehow I now have 3 Pat McGrath palettes a month later. But here is what it looks like. I would say this just sparks so much joy in me because I love the colors. I've had so much fun playing with it. I mean, I feel like part of this palette and loving this palette is the experience. Do these eyeshadows blend themselves? No. Are they above and beyond and the best eyeshadows I've ever tried? Again, no. I feel like the special shades are on par with indie shadows, so it's not even like my mind was blown, but I still just love it. I love using it. I think it's so pretty. It's so luxurious. It was like a little gift to myself. So yeah, I feel like this one definitely sparks joy. Oh gosh, okay, I'm trying to decide which shades to swatch for you because they're obviously also beautiful, but definitely gonna go with these two special shadows at the end. How could I not? Super, super pretty. I love using them wet. I feel like that's been my go-to. And then I also love this shade as well. We'll do this satin. It's like a satin purpley gray. It doesn't look like anything special, right? Like it just looks like, I don't know, any other shadow, but I love that one. There's the special shades and the satin. I mean, just beautiful. Okay, so the next category is newest palette in your collection, and I decided to talk about the most recent palette that I personally purchased. Nothing to do with PR or anything like that, and that's going to be, like I said, the Pat McGrath Bridgerton palette. It just got to me. Super, super cute. Here's what it looks like on the inside. This was the last palette that I bought in 2021. Have not purchased any palettes during this first month of 2022 so far. There just hasn't really been anything that super caught my attention other than the new Sydney Grace Be Mine palette. I feel like I might cave and end up purchasing that one. With this one, I don't have any regrets per se because I love the packaging so much. I really love the special shade. I was having trouble duping it actually, and I thought it wasn't going to be that hard to dupe. And I used this shade today as blush, and I actually really, really liked it because I didn't love it on the eyes. In my first impression, I talked about that. So yeah, that's the newest palette to my collection. I'm doing a terrible job. I almost forgot to swatch out of this, so obviously gonna go for the special shade. I mean, it's just super, super beautiful. I really love this metallic as well. I think it's super cute. And then we can do this matte. I mean, that shade, I don't know what it is about that. I mean, essentially it just looks like a rose gold, but there's just something about the tone, the wetness of it that I'm like, I love it. I just realized I forgot a category, which is a underrated eyeshadow palette, and I feel silly. I feel like it's been a long time since I did a tag. I'm just making all these mistakes over here, but the most underrated eyeshadow palette to me, I have to say, is the Sydney Grace x Tintalia Quintessence palette. I have the light version, and the thing is that I feel like these palettes got a lot of hype leading up to the launch. I feel like when they first launched, I saw a lot of videos, and then it just was kind of like dead silence since then, and I'm just here to say that this palette is so, so good. I have talked about it as being a favorite. I think it is one of the best smoky, cool tone palettes. I feel like you have just the perfect neutrals. You have so many fun metallic, colorful options to throw in if you want to be more boring and basic, or if you just want to go all out. You can do either with this palette. So yeah, I felt like this is just underrated and it deserves a lot more hype. So I'm gonna swatch my favorite shades. So we've got the Milky Way, which is like this beautiful purple green metallic, just so, so pretty. We'll do this purple blue called Aurora. Like I said, the Sydney Grace metallics are more just like super wet reflective versus like super textured, although the Milky Way does have a little bit of sparkle to it. And then, I don't know, gosh, how am I supposed to only choose 3 here? We're gonna do 4. So we'll do one of the greens. This is Galactic Muse. I mean, again, just stunning. And then of course the silver, which is called Serious Starlight. And the mattes are really nice in here too. I'm just not swatching them because they're super basic, and I just want you guys to see how beautiful these shimmers are. I mean, what more can I say? Stunning. The last category is an eyeshadow palette that is the first one you used in 2022, and I definitely had this wrong for a bit there. I was thinking it was the Subliminal palette because I used that so much that first week of January, but I realized on January 1st I filmed a first impression on this. I was getting ready to go to the airport and it all came back to me. It is the Blend Bunny Dollhouse palette. I still need to do a multiple looks video on this, and I plan to, but there's just been so much going on. So I will get to that eventually, but this is such a stunning palette. I mean, it's only making it into this category because it just happened to be the palette that I used the first time. But here is what it looks like. I mean, it is beautiful. It's the most fun neutral palette ever, again from Blend Bunny. We'll just go ahead, for the sake of it, do some of my favorite shades. I'm going to do Pretend, which is a really pretty kind of white to pink duochrome. We've got Tulle, which is a pinky gold duochrome. I mean, so pretty. And then let's do Plume, which is a stunning deep burgundy eggplant. I mean, yeah, so pretty. All right, y'all, so that was everything for this tag video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know your answers down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.